Hey, Rembo here and welcome to my channel. It's been a while since I've made a motorcycle video, and today is going to be that day, and it's going to be a pretty good exciting topic. It's going to be about buying your first motorcycle. So this is really geared towards those of you out there that are thinking about getting your first motorcycle, or maybe you rode as a kid and you want to get your first motorcycle again, and you haven't rode a motorcycle in a long time. This is for you. Anyway, I had a little bit of time off. I'll be real quick about that. As some of you know, and I'll put a link above here, I was in an accident while I was test riding a Triumph Scrambler 400X. And anyway, so I ended up with a commutated fracture of my scapula, the shoulder blade back there. I got some fragments sticking out over here that it's a little painful, but we're getting there. I had 5 broken ribs, collapsed lung, and even with a full helmet and everything, ended up with a bit of a concussion. But I'm here. I can move my arms half decent. I'm getting there. I still have very limited mobility, but I'm getting better, and I am in pain right now as I talk. Hey, I even got a souvenir for myself. So this is the shirt I was wearing underneath my gear right here. And this is what they cut off me to access me and start the IV in the ambulance and get me to the trauma center. And anyway, so let's talk about your first motorcycle, some of the things to talk about with it, and what you want to look at right now. Okay, so this is going to be about really riding on the street. This is going to be about street bikes. This isn't going to be about you buying your first dirt bike. Now, I think some of the adventure bikes might come into play here, but the first thing you have to decide is what kind of motorcycle are you attracted to? What do you like? What do you picture yourself riding? And that's the first and foremost thing that you have to consider, all right? Obviously, your age is going to come into play, your skill level, and so on and so forth, because we don't want to get crazy in buying a really souped up, heavy-duty leader bike right off the bat when you either didn't ride in decades, or this is your first bike. You have to be realistic, and many of you overseas in the EU and so on and so forth, you don't have a choice but to stay below a certain CC, unlike the United States, where they just want you to kill yourself. Okay, different types of bikes. You can get an adventure bike, which is something that you can take off, little off-road, little trails and street at the same time. You can buy a cruiser if you like your Harley or your Indian or any kind of bike like that, any kind of a cruiser bike. You can go for that. They're typically bigger and heavier, but they're also much lower to the ground, so they're a little bit more manageable. So that extra weight is kind of compensated for with that really low center of gravity, and they typically don't fall all the way over because they're so wide-bodied, all right? But if you're gonna do that, you're gonna be getting a bigger size engine. That's gonna be for the adults for the most part. You can look at a sport bike. You wanna start off with a sport bike? You can certainly do that. You can find yourself a really nice sport bike at different levels of engine size and power. I happen to have here a little RC390, all right, maybe about 40 horsepower, but I use it for the track primarily. It's pretty much not street legal anymore, so I pretty much only use it for the track. It's 390 cc's, but it is an absolute barrel of fun. It's the same type of bike you could certainly keep and ride on the street. Honestly, if you're a newer rider, I'm going to say keep it like 660 and under. Keep it around under 600 cc's or definitely under 700. But once you get down to the 600 cc, you have to take into consideration how much your insurance is going to cost. And the lower the cc's, typically the lower the cost of insurance. Now you can get a standard bike. When I say standard bike, there's all kind of bikes like that, and typically you think of like a cafe racer style, your typical like MT-07s, things like that, those kind of a smaller bikes. You're looking at just the scrambler type bikes, which could be maybe put more towards the adventure, but not really. If you want, it could be like the speed triple. I think they have a 660, or no, it's a different one that Triumph has. But anyway, you're looking at smaller bikes, basically naked bikes, all right? So those are kind of some of your options. Again, we're not talking about any kind of off-road stuff other than maybe some adventure stuff. All right, like I said, when you're choosing a bike, you really have to think about your riding style, what you envision yourself doing, your experience level. Are you really good on a bicycle and you have excellent balance and you're very coordinated? You don't mind using your hands and both feet at the same time? That can help you out. Now, all of these bikes, I will tell you, one of the things I would absolutely do as a beginner rider is find a bike that at an absolute minimum has ABS. That's going to help you if you over brake, for one thing, and if it has traction control, that's an even bigger bonus for you, because it's going to kind of help you be safer. And this isn't about you trying to prove, oh, I don't need ABS and I don't need traction control. You just might need it someday, all right? And it's better off for you, and it's safer. What's important is that you're safe. You're not like me, who, for whatever happened, if you watch that video, and now I'm dealing with weeks. It'll be this Saturday, as of the date of this video, this Saturday is actually going to be 4 weeks, and I'm still in pain, I'm still limited with mobility, and I have at least another 4 to 6 weeks to go before I'm semi back to normal. So think about being safe on the bike. ABS, traction control, if you can afford it, that's a great option. And typically, for the most part, ABS is almost standard these days. All right, next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to think about gear. After what happened to me, for sure, and before that, I was a major proponent of a full face mask. I saw some people wearing lids when I spent time as a paramedic, and I was a critical care paramedic on a flight trauma helicopter. I've seen some really horrible stuff, and there's been some brain dead people, some half brain dead people, and some just dead people from crappy helmets, no helmets, and stuff like that. And of course, if you go fast enough, it doesn't matter if you're wearing a helmet or not, okay? Sometimes you just hit it the wrong way. So you gotta think about the gear, all right? Full face helmet, that's my recommendation. Full jacket with all the pads, pants, riding boots. Good riding boots that come up the ankle, and something I've added that I didn't have, and I have so much regret, is I did not have an airbag vest. Whether you can only afford a tether one, or you can get a better one that has the gyros inside and it can just explode, you know, and protect you because it senses when you're in trouble. It doesn't matter. I wish, listen to me, I wish that I had an airbag vest, because my outcome would have been significantly different had that bag deployed when I was wearing one. So gloves, all of these things come into play. You really have to have all the gear. Now, when you're looking at these bikes, you also have to take into consideration that you should have already taken a safety course, a rider safety course, to get your license, because you shouldn't be riding a bike unless you have a license, unless you're going to do off-road. Again, we're not here to talk about off-road. We're talking about taking safety courses, and not just a beginner course to get your license, but maybe a couple other courses, really good courses for you to continue and get your comfort level up there. Because one of the most important things you can have when buying a new bike, it's, what is it? Tell me, what do you say? Confidence. You have to have confidence in your ability, all right? You're gonna drop a bike. It happens. Even 50 years later, after I started riding a bike, I still drop a bike every now and then. I just forget. You think the kickstand's down. You stop in an area that has a big dip and you think your foot's down and it's not, and the bike starts going, and you can't start the momentum of a 500-600 pound bike, all right? So it's just important that you take some safety courses to build your confidence, as much as building your skills, because that's going to be really important that you do all of these things. Something else, you're going to want to be familiar enough with the bike that you could check it out, that you can test things, that you can make sure that your tire pressures are good, that your chain is at the right tension. All of this stuff is really important. So if you're not super mechanically inclined, you don't have to be, you just have to have the basics. Maybe you're going to do some adjustments for your brake lever. Maybe you're going to do some adjustments on your, what's the other thing, right? What is it? Come on. On the right, we have the brake. On the left, if you're a new rider, what is it? It's the clutch, all right? You want to be able to adjust your clutch a little bit. Simple things like that, but really chain, making sure that things aren't loose, tightening up bolts, and air pressure in the tires. I can't enforce, I can't communicate strong enough how important your tire pressures are. The wrong tire pressures, the wrong kind of bad wear with bad pressure, it's a recipe for disaster. You could be overinflated and not realize it and end up losing a grip significantly because your contact patch is decreased, or you can end up wobbling and causing other problems or a blowout because it's absolutely, your air pressure is too low and you're going to cause yourself a lot of other problems. So you want to be kind of familiar with the bike to a certain degree, and you need some level of mechanical inclination is the best way to put it, and you can learn it. So let's get back to picking out that first bike. I've always said one of the most important things is, how does the bike feel to you? You have to sit on the bike. If you can ride it, that's the best thing, because you can really get the feel for the bike. But at the very least, you need to sit on the bike, sit on multiple bikes, and see which one feels comfortable to you. You don't want to be on a bike where you're leaning too far forward. Maybe you have a bad back, bad shoulder, you got some issues like me, and you can't afford to be leaning forward too long. And so sit on the bike for 5-10 minutes, put some weight on your on your wrist just to see what it feels like if you start getting tired. But sit on the bike and see what feels good. Have someone there help you. Have the person, your salesman, help you out a little bit and keep the bike straight for you, so you can sit down and see what it feels like. If you sit on the bike and it feels natural and it feels comfortable and you kind of like it and you like the looks, it's going to be a better experience for you. So you have to sit on the bike. Nothing's worse than buying a bike that you have limited time on and you just sit on it and you're uncomfortable, you don't like the adjustment. Now, don't forget, a lot of this stuff, all of these, what I'm calling the ergonomics, they could all be adjusted. You can adjust the clutch, you can adjust the lever position, you can adjust the handlebars, you can get little blocks that raise up and the handlebars for you and put you in different positions. You can buy different handlebars for most bikes. Some bikes are just set up where they're just very complicated to move things around. But the ergonomics and how you feel on the bike and what you envision is just going to give you a much better experience. So low cc, good training, good gear, keep practicing. How does the bike feel to you? That's really important, and that's it. And if you take all of this stuff into consideration and you think about all these things, it's going to help you with the overall experience when you first start riding. Because if you first start riding and you're too nervous and you're worried constantly and you don't have the skill level you think and you lack the confidence, it could be a recipe for disaster. Because one thing that kills is speed, but a difference in speed also kills. So if you all of a sudden jam on the brakes, you slow down when people are behind you, you're going to create a problem. So you need to be confident on the bike, and once you do, then you can have that exhilarating, excellent feeling of being on the road with a motorcycle and just feeling like you're just relaxed. To me, it is my therapy and I love it. Even with all the injuries I have, I cannot wait to get back on a motorcycle. So think about what you want for your first motorcycle. Think about all the things that come into play. Remember, it's gotta feel good to you, but you need confidence and skills in order to really enjoy the bike. Otherwise, what's the point? You're gonna be a ball of nerves and you're not really gonna enjoy it. Anyway, this is Rembo. Please like, please subscribe. I'd appreciate it. Thank you very much. And have a good day. Bye-bye. Man, that hurt.